tell you how that felt. Swift kick from a man can turn into a bad spell. Kick-ass movies and Len really tend to add well. North, Mr. North Star. Pop the judo, chop you right out your car. Kush to the haze, Mr. Always raise the bar. He strives to be great and exceeds it by far. So sit back, relax, we getting dirty like a mud pit. Talking kickboxer and blood fist. If we catch you dozing off, then you gotta go. What you know about Taekwondo? We're here to kick ass.
What's good, y'all? The Ginger Ninja here, Kush Hayes, coming to you with the Kick-Ass Movie Podcast. With me, the director, Len Kabazinski. How you doing today, my friend?
Very good. I'm excited for this series. Yeah, I do a lot of podcasts lately as guest spots. Of course, I do a lot of podcasting through my own Patreon and things like that. But I feel like with this movie series, we're getting into my wheelhouse of what I watch in my normal life, if you will, if I put normal in quotations. But, these are the kind of films I really watch a lot and have watched a lot for a very long time.
I regret to say, though, despite me picking this movie, it's maybe been 30 years since I see it, and it doesn't hold up for me the way it did in 1992.
I revisited it maybe 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
And we are talking about none other than, Bloodfist III, right? Forced to Fight.
Don the Dragon Wilson.
Yes, Richard Roundtree, who played Shaft back in the day. I revisited a couple weeks ago, and to be honest, I have the absolute opposite reaction to what you did. I think it's Don Wilson's easily his best film. Okay. I think in a lot of different ways. I think personally, from a fight choreography standpoint, it's one of his best. I think the fight choreography might be better in this than it was in something with like Bloodfist, which was littered with great fighters and real life fighters. And that was kind of the gimmick of Bloodfist 1 there, where, they pulled in Billy Blanks and stuff like that. But much like I've told people before, just because you have a litany of great fighters and stuff like that in your film doesn't mean you have great fight choreographers. That's something different. If everybody was meant to be a fight choreographer, we'd have 80 zillion fight choreographers, but it's just not that simple. There is a training involved in it. A lot of these fight choreographers for the stage and screen are people that go to stunt camps and all these kinds of things. There is a training involved to it. Even in theater, I was a registered member with the Society of American Fight Directors, which is theater stage fight choreographers, unarmed combat, sword, broad, rapier and dagger, Shakespearean weapons, that kind of stuff. So there is an art to it, in my opinion. And I think in Bloodfist 3 Forced to Fight, I think it might be some of his best choreography, if not maybe the best he's had. In Bloodfist 2, I thought had some good things in it, but I had the opposite reaction. I really enjoyed it. And I think it may be my favorite Don the Dragon Wilson film, other than maybe something that's a little more campy, silly that I like Night Hunter or something like that. So it's Night Hunter and Bloodfist 3, although greatly different, are probably my two favorite Don the Dragon Wilson movies.
Like I said, I probably haven't seen this since 1992. I can tell you that when I did see this, I saw this before Shaft. So when I saw it 2 weeks ago, when I saw it last night, to see Richard Roundtree in there was just a nice surprise. I was like, oh, Shaft's here. Like everything's gonna be all right. And it's literally like a 6-month window. Like I remember watching Shaft New Year's Eve, and that dude immediately became part of like my Mount Rushmore of fictitious father figures. That includes Superman, the Fonz, Captain Kirk, and the aforementioned John Shaft. Seeing Shaft in this, he plays it pretty straight. He's carrying all the acting in this movie. And it's not a bad movie by any means. I'm just saying, like, it's trying to tell a bunch of different messages here, and it just kind of comes off flat for me. Maybe I'm asking too much from my Don the Dragon Wilson movies, but
I think there's a lot of good setup in this, though. You mentioned that he carries, Richard Roundtree carrying a lot of the acting weight in the movie, if not all of it. Go back through some other martial artists that turned actors and stuff and see. I think it's a smart way to go. You've got to surround your inexperienced non-actor, if you will, with good people that'll elevate.
Absolutely.
And I think it's done in a movie called The Perfect Weapon with Jeff Speakman. I don't think Jeff Speakman is the perfect actor by any means, but they surround him with Mako, who is a very good actor. I believe that's how you say his name, Mako. I know he's passed away since, but I mean, he was in Conan and stuff like that, but he's a good actor. Surround your inexperienced martial arts star with good actors. They did it with Van Damme. I mean, they could make it
for
through
sure.
Bloodsport and things like that. But when you got into, Hard Target, they're surrounding him, even at that point in his career, the Time Cops and things like that. They're surrounding him with good actors.
Bloodfist 3 comes out top of the year, January 1992. We spoke about this with King of the Kickboxers, where it was originally just going to be called Forced to Fight. And
Right.
based on the success of the first two Bloodfist movies, this all of a sudden became Bloodfist 3. Its success is ultimately its flaw as well, whereas Bloodfist 3 is the least successful of the Bloodfist trilogy theatrically, and that's when they went straight to DVD or straight to VHS at that point. Out of the 247 movies that came out in 1992, this came out at number 233.
Yeah, but they don't tell you how many screens it played. It could have played Man's Chinese Theater or something, and that's the only theater it played. And what if it played there for 2 weeks but made $35,000? That's not so bad. I'm sure it did not play on more than a handful, literally, of screens, probably in SoCal somewhere. So labeling it as Into the Blood Fist thing, I think, was a mistake. I mean, what do I know? Because Corman has done a lot of things right throughout his career. But we have Don Wilson, who plays a completely different character. He's not Jimmy Ray or whatever his character's name was there in Blood Fist 1 and 2. And 3, we see him and, oh, it's Jimmy Ray or whatever his name was again. No, it's
Jake
not.
Sessions, yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's a completely different character. You can see in the end credits, they didn't even bother changing that. I mean, I believe it says Forced to Fight is the title in the end and stuff. So, I mean, the stage was set to, I mean, do I think it would have made a difference dropping the Blood Fist gimmick from it? I don't know, but I think sometimes doing something different is good. And I think if it would have been Forced to Fight and just been that prison action martial art thing, I think it would have been better served, I think.
Let's jump into the story. We come to Winngate State Penitentiary in the fictitious Los Angeles, California, and the warden is there, and he's given a big speech about how everything's becoming automated, and I think he's just hyping up the fact they got security cameras, because he's talking about one guard will do the job of 12 men. That definitely doesn't seem to be helping out here, because as that's going on, we go from zero to rape. Okay, I've seen a lot of prison movies. I've seen a lot of kung fu prison movies, and this one, like, we're in minute 3. Okay, we get a 2-minute montage over the credits of Don Wilson warming up, and then within the first minute of the story, some poor dude's getting raped. We find out that the guy raping him is Luther. Our hero is already in prison. We meet Jake, and he stops as quickly as he can, and immediately it's a 5-on-1 situation. I feel like Don Wilson is the dude you want to get into a fight with. Like, he doesn't seem to just go out of his way to, like, break someone's neck. I think things like the Raid have escalated things a lot these days. It's a very quick fight, and lo and behold, Luther ends up getting stabbed. Of course, the guards are late to break everything up. The autopsy has the warden there, and he's like, well, couldn't have happened to a worser guy. But it's an election year, so this is not good.
Dead at the age of who gives a fuck, right? Yeah.
Then Don Wilson's just chained up in the corner. He's like, let me explain. He's very calm for a guy who's currently sitting in the middle of, like, 2 dead bodies and a bunch of fractured ribs. And they give him a thing about he's got to be another example and blah, blah, blah. And they're going to send him to C-Block. They promise him a life of nothing but hell. And sure enough, it's late at night, and we meet Richard Roundtree.
Correct.
And he's trying to work on something, and conveniently had a bunk all to himself, but now he's got a roommate. Don Wilson just passively sleeps on the floor. Like, do you think he would have been out of line to move those books in the middle of the night, or is like was he just damned if he did, damned if he didn't?
It's funny though. You mentioned that Don's the one you might want to get into a fight with and stuff, but in reality, he's a very dangerous man and probably the most decorated kickboxer
for sure
ever to walk the face of the earth in real life. And you'd never think that, but that's where God gives you certain gifts, and God gave him iron fists, not blood fists, but he gave him iron fists because he has tons of knockouts throughout his career in real life is over him, right? KOs of everybody on the planet practically in kickboxing. So, Yeah, it's funny to look at him. He's not Schwarzenegger or some beast of a man kind of thing, but he'll knock the crap out of you.
He's got a lot of charisma. Like I said, he's probably the friendliest dude you could get into a fight with. Like, again, he's gonna try and de-escalate the situation as much as possible. Off topic, I once upon a time asked a friend of mine, I was like, who do you want to get into a fight with, Hulk Hogan or The Rock? Let me tell you why you want to get into a fight with The Rock. The Rock's going to not give you 3 strikes. He's going to give you 4 strikes. Like, you really got to be an asshole before The Rock is just going to, like, flick you in the nose, okay? Hulk Hogan, however, you might be just minding your own business, and he could just be like, you're sitting in my seat, brother. And he'd be like...
Right, the biker mentality and stuff, right?
Yeah. So that's where I was just going with that, is like Don Wilson's going to de-escalate the situation so that everyone can go home and no one's going to get deaded. That's all.
No, you'll just be concussed.
Yeah, at most, best case. There's a great score going on throughout the whole thing. Do you know anything about that?
I do not, but the one aspect I do know that I think is really good, and we can get to the score, but and I don't want to undermine this at all, because I think in a movie like this, it's critical, where you see a lot of women in prison movies, especially on an independent type level, especially throughout the last 20 years or so, that try to do them, where the sets are just very poor. You could tell they aren't in an actual prisons and things like that. They're in a prison in this movie. I mean, you could tell this is on location somewhere, or at least certain rooms and stuff. They built legit looking sets and things like that. I think the whole look of the picture is good. Not once did I believe they were in somebody's basement somewhere, or so, you know what I mean? All the sets look legit. Obviously, they had somebody on set that knew what lighting was and how to do these kinds of things to kind of, because it's not a very colorful film, you know.
No.
I mean, there's not many prison films that look like you're watching an episode of Silk Stockings on USA in 1992. I think a lot of the production design and stuff like that of this film really fits. And you know, when you watch a Roger Corman film like Bloodfist, you're not going to get Shawshank out of this. This is not what you're going to do. I mean, if we could have put more TNA in a film like Bloodfist 3, he would have done it, kind of thing. Now, this doesn't lend itself to that kind of thing, but you get where I'm going with that. Sure. You're not going to get with a movie like Bloodfist. I've made a movie called Swamp Zombies. If you didn't expect to see TNA and some gore and things like that, I'm sorry, I misled you from that title then somehow, but I don't think Bloodfist skirts around an issue that it's trying to be something that it isn't. I think it's a very straight-laced picture for Roger Corman in this. The campiness and stuff isn't there that might have been there in other pictures, like I mentioned with Night Hunter and things like that Wilson did. But right, to backtrack, the score I don't know very much about, but the set design and lighting design and stuff, the whole just look of the picture, I think is really good.
So despite seeing it twice this week, I felt super unprepared for this thing. There's like really no material out there. Like, you and I will be one of the first people to be talking about this movie, like maybe top 10. I sat through the credits twice last night just to make sure. Like, I want to know where did they shoot this? Did they shoot this at a prison in Georgia? Did they shoot this at a prison in San Bernardino? There's no mention of location, period. I thought that was super, like, nothing, like we didn't film this on a set in Vancouver, nothing like that.
My guess would be this was probably done at a closed down penitentiary. That would be my,
have to be, right?
That's just a guess. And that's only because I did the same thing myself when I did my film Hellcat's Revenge 2. We weren't in an actual prison. It was just kind of a county jail kind of thing. But at least when the bars were there and the cells were there, everything looked legit. When we were even on a low budget, micro budget indie scale that I would shoot on, at least stuff looked legit. So I'm betting this was a recently closed down facility or something that they got a hold of.
Think there's a reason why they didn't reveal any location, like not even just basic Los Angeles?
I don't think any reason really, especially like you said now. I mean, the film is a ghost, strangely enough, that you can't find a ton of notes on it and stuff. I'm sure Don Wilson on Facebook, who's very active on there and responds to a lot of fans and stuff, if somebody asked him or posed a question, I bet he would answer it. He's pretty cool with interacting with fans and stuff on his Facebook page there. So
getting back into the story here, we meet Blue and he's immediately being shaken down by the guards, and they inform him that his supplier, Luther, is now dead, and that the ride is over. Like, they don't give him 48 hours to, like, now you got to pay us our fees to let you keep doing this. They immediately just shut him down.
Right, they shut him down.
It's weird. Like they take great satisfaction in ruining their own business opportunities. They're taking money out of their own pockets by doing that. Blue's got a whole party in his toilet. He's got 4 bags. One is just like his paraphernalia, like here's my rolling papers and some lighters and matches or whatever. But then he's got pills. Then he's got a white powdery substance, and then he's got his leaf shake, which it looked wet. It doesn't look like you would want to smoke that stuff. It looks very bad.
Well, it was coming out of a toilet, I believe, or something, right?
Yeah, but it was, multi-bagged, and he had a little fishing line and all that. Like, it was still very accessible. It was just, he was hiding it in the toilet.
Yeah, I mean, water is usually wet, though, and to hide stuff,
Oh, I agree. Like I'm saying, I wouldn't want to touch any of that.
He probably should have tried to do the prison shank thing and carve out a hole in his wall or do something, non-toilet related, but, whatever.
Yeah, probably. So they insist his line of supply has been cut off, and I have nothing but questions, but we're not going to get any answers from this. Blue is now he's on the warpath for Jake, and Jake will tell us eventually that he's half white and half Japanese. But when everybody in the prison comes to their racial slurs, no one understands who he is.
Right.
Even his own friends are like, I think he's Korean, Time moves very fast in this. He gets a job on the new cell block, and he's like, yeah, put me in the mess hall. And they're like, you're going to get killed in the mess hall because you killed Luther. But we're going to put you with the white group in the laundry room, and they'll probably only kill you a little bit less. As far as prisons go, even in cinema, Winngate seems to be like not a bad place to go. Here, stand by, Len. I might say some stupid shit, but stand by. Okay. You still have the opportunity of getting raped. You still have the opportunity of getting murdered, beat up. But it seems like it only goes further than like there's only one smelly guy. No one is constantly throwing bodily fluids on you. You don't have to worry about
paper, right?
Yeah, it seems like everybody's just kind of like decent for the most part. Like, we'll still kill you, but you got to cut off my line of supply here.
I think some of that is that, again, with the design, the prison actually looks kind of, for lack of a better word, but the hallways look clean when people are walking through them. It's clearly not like a Midnight Express. It's not some Turkish hellhole that they sent him to. It actually looks more like a county jail setup than some kind of hellhole penal system, federal prison kind of, death row area kind of thing. So it looks like you'll get murdered here, but in a cleaner way than like you would in Midnight Express or something like that.
It feels very specific for something to happen to you in this place, as opposed to just random chaos is where I'm going with that.
I could see that, right? Sure.
Things don't work out so well in the laundry room. Jake ends up kicking some big hulking mass of white person through 9 layers of sheets, and that seems to impress everybody. I don't know. There was he supposed to stop at like 2 sheets if he was just a normal dude? I don't know.
Yeah, it's like I said, though, that's God giving you a gift, and size doesn't matter there. If you're a 300-pound man fighting a 110-pound man, if you've got iron fists and power in your shoulders and hips, you can knock out somebody. It does not take 200 pounds of pressure on your jaw to knock you out. So, but I think it should be said that the one giant man in the movie is none other than the late Rick Dean, who I believe just passed away within the last couple years here. He was in a lot of Corman productions, including one of my favorite. I want to say it's not Dune Warriors, but he worked for Sirio H. Santiago a few times. But maybe it was Dune Warriors. Maybe he is. But I believe he passed away within the first couple years here. But he was a staple. He usually always played bikers and rough and tumble characters and things like that. Always sported the mullet with the goatee usually in a lot of his stuff. But I do believe that was him in Dune Warriors with David Carradine, which is a pretty fun movie.
Nice. Jake ends the fight. He ends up leaving the laundry room, and then what happens? Does he get put in solitary? He gets put in solitary a couple times, I want to say.
Yeah, it seems like he's in and out of that.
Well, at some point, he hooks up with the guys on the roof. They got a little garden. They have their own little hot plate. Like, this is the group of folks that you want to hang out with, not just at Winngate, but just your best friends on the block, too. Like, they got a TV. They're grilling up some chicken. You know, it's nice sunny day on the roof.
Right. You're talking to pigeons and doing things on the roof with those guys. Winngate, the place you want to be is the garden rooftop thing. I mean, all they're missing up there is what, Amazon TV or whatever, or some kind of cool setup, you know, some sports televisions up there or whatever. So the roof's the place to be. That's well established. Well, we'll see how that turns out.
It becomes a pain in the ass real quickly as soon as Jake joins the group, because Blue and his gang, they still want vengeance for Luther's murder. Jake has already befriended the county pedophile, who is, at first his nickname is Diddler, but then his name turns out just to be Diddler.
Yes.
All right, sure. All right.
I think they wrote themselves into something they couldn't get out of there and just said, screw it. And not realizing that it's called Bloodfist and he's playing a completely different character as Don Wilson. So you really have game to do whatever you want kind of thing at that point. But they didn't choose to go that route. Not with Diddler.
Yeah, Diddler, they try to show some humanity to Diddler. I don't even know if in 1992 it's a good scene. Like it comes off weird, but they're trying to be very empathetic here. There's even a scene later where Blue and Steelhead, Mophead.
Yes.
Yeah, Steelhead. They're just hanging out, grilling some chicken or whatever, grilling some cheese. And he's just talking, you know, they're talking about their days outside of life. They're like, man, like my mom used to make the worst grilled cheese sandwiches and blah, blah, blah. But like, miss those things now more than ever. Like they try to humanize everybody in this, which I thought was a very interesting aspect of this movie. Like most prison movies, everyone's just black and white. Like you're Don the Dragon Wilson's the good guy and everyone else is the bad guy.
Right. Well, they give Diddler his creepy moment where he's watching the little girl when it's family visitation day or whatever at the prison, and he's watching that little girl, and then Don Wilson steps in and brings him to his senses and stuff, because one punch from Don there and Diddler, you know,
have a broken jaw. Yeah.
Yes, right. He's making it ascension or descension to some other place probably. So
and from there, those guys actually go to the workout yard.
Correct.
And that's where another fight happens. There's another guy in prison who knows karate, dude. Why isn't this a bigger deal?
Yeah, the prison fight too, I think, is really well done. But to backtrack, I want to go back to where he's beating up the kind of puffier Hogan-y guy that he kicks through the 9 sheets. But there's some really good photography in that one. I think Don, in all of his films and his choreography, Don is never the kicker that like what I would call a cinematic kicker, like Jean-Claude Van Damme is. Everything's pretty, everything's jumping, spinning, split kicks, and very pretty, look like ballet, like pretty looking things. However, Don's a practical guy that's looking to knock you out with everything, because that's what he was in real life, you know. But I'll say in this movie, I think this is the best kicks he throws in any of his films. It's shot well, they look good. And I think in that scene, he's doing a lot of jumping side kicks on that huge guy. We go to the prison yard. He does another jumping side kick. And I think this is the best. I stand by it. I will. I think this is Don's best fight movie.
You mentioned cinematography. Oley Sassones, I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name correctly.
Right.
But that's the director. And
who's a cinematographer.
He's the director. He's the cinematographer. He's also the guy who did the Corman Fantastic Four movie that never came out.
Yeah. Yeah. Doomed. That is a heartbreaking documentary, man.
Is that out yet? I've been waiting.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Doomed is out. Yeah. I watched it probably two years ago, maybe, or something. It's fairly heartbreaking.
Okay. I need to check that out on Prime. Have you seen the actual Fantastic Four movie?
I have not.
Okay. It's
I know
it's
what
on
it is.
YouTube.
Is it? Yeah.
It's on YouTube, and it's not bad.
But I think we're talking about the prison fight scene and things, or in the yard, the exercise yard and stuff. I think it's pretty cool. Don's doing his spinning kicks and stuff. Obviously, he's not an actor that's going to get doubled very often in things. So I think we've got a cool fight scene. Don gives a little bit of attitude at the end of it, and now it looks like after this, you really are going to see the split in terms of the groups. I think he gets recruited into the one group that's very multi-ethnic now. So Don Wilson gets into that group, and off we go into more of our story there.
Yeah, I would say the fight on the yard is the best fight of the film, but then we do get to a fight on the rooftop, and Sugarfoot.
Yes.
I forget what his name.
Yeah, real life karate champion. Yeah.
He's second billed in the film, but he's in the movie for 45 seconds.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where does something like that go wrong? Like, if I don't know, man. I feel like if you just go like, here's a cup of coffee, sir, but your second build, like, when you just like, maybe just put me more towards the end of the thing. Don't put so much on Front Street there. That's a lot of explaining I can't do.
Well, he did that though with the other Bloodfist films too. If you remember,
really?
in the opening credits, he would even put their karate titles and things that they had won in the opening credits to, I believe, the first two Bloodfist ones that preceded this one. So you have, Curtis Bush, so and so, middleweight champion, blah blah blah, whoever it was. Curtis Bush, I believe, is in the lead in Psycho Kickboxer, but filmed for another day. But but yeah. Even in the first couple there, he was listing actors in their credentials, their real life championship credentials. And right, many of those guys were literally in the film for a minute, a scene. I remember the one guy in the first Bloodfist is he goes into a bar and beats him up, and he's like third credited or something like that. So, yeah, not a new trick from Corman's stuff there. It's like the old AIP films trick where you put the hot model girl on the poster and she's of course not in the movie at all, kind of thing. So
okay, well, after Sugarfoot gets knocked out, we do get a fight between Jake and Blue. I would say Blue gets the better of Jake, but it feels like it ends in a no contest. What's your official thought?
I think, knowing and watching a lot of competition, whether it be MMA or karate through the years, I'm going to say it has split decision written all over it. I'm thinking you're going to have some judges go one way, some judges go the other way. And I think we're looking at the classic split decision.
Okay. Well, regardless of the decision, Jake wins the prisoners' hearts, if he can do that. The next day, they're cleaning everything up on the rooftop. And sure enough, many of those guys that were at the fight, like, hey, we're sorry, we fucked up. We just want, please let us help you clean up. And there's some sort of peace established. But Blue and Steelhead now, they're like, they got their backs to each other. They're actually now working with each other and plotting on murdering not just Stark, but Jake. And Diddler's in the crew too for some reason, so we'll get him first.
Right. Well, you figure there's the low hanging fruit for them, and it's going to be easy to take out little Diddler there than it is Ton Wilson. So,
from what I'm estimating, just based on random IMDb credits, they watching it's a Foxy Brown knockoff, but it's I feel like Corman made it specifically for that movie. Like whatever 5 minutes they're watching there, they made that specifically for Forced to Fight.
Really? I'd have to look at it and see, because I'm pretty well versed in a lot of his films during this time period. So I'd be curious if I can pick something up, because I don't think it could be anything like Angel Fist or something like that, because that would have been made right around the same time here. Which Don Wilson in part 4 of Bloodfist stars with Angel Fist star who passed away 20 years ago, Katya Sassoon, daughter of Vidal Sassoon.
Oh, wow. I met him. Nice guy.
Yeah.
I was working a National Hot Rod Association event. I think he just waved a flag to start the ceremonies, and got to shake his hand real quick. Really nice dude.
His daughter was Katya Sassoon that did a couple Roger Corman pictures. Angel Fist is a lot of fun. I think that's something maybe you'll see down the road. But Angel Fist is a lot of fun, and she's in Bloodfist 4. I believe it's called Die Trying is the subtitle on it.
Well, Steelhead, Leatherhead, Steel Nuts, whatever. They're plotting. They're going to murder everybody, and they get Diddler during movie night. And then there's some calm before the storm, but then they plot some more, and they're like, tomorrow's a holiday. It's President's Day. And I had to catch that on the second time. Like at first I thought, I was like, oh, 4th of July. Of course it's a holiday. Yeah. No, they get a banquet. All the prisoners at Winngate get a half chicken banquet for President's Day. And of course the warden's there, and he's got the press there, and he's trying to run for a new office and all that. Who's the guy in the bow tie?
Let's see.
There's the warden. He's the pudgy guy. And then he's got a guy who's like, I want your job. And he's like, you can have my job after I get elected, but you can have my job by doing my job and your job.
Right. Yes. He's your classic little, I don't know what his job title is, but yeah, right. He's your classic assistant vice principal kind of character there that's looking to take over. He should be careful what he wishes for.
Yes, indeed. So during the banquet, a distraction is set off. The PA calls for Shaft to go to one spot. I guess they're accepting a delivery. They're like, yeah, those tomatoes came in. Finally. All right, we're going to have some blah, blah, blah.
Right. I don't think those would be delivered to them in quite that way, but roll with it.
It gives Don Wilson the opportunity to go, I'll go accept the delivery on the roof. Don't worry about it. Enjoy this banquet. And then the PA chimes in again and now says, Don Wilson, coming to the infirmary. And they're like, oh, he's probably going to get those bandages taken off. And Shaft goes, I'll let him know he's on the way, which doesn't seem like anything he has to do. But he's like, that's what I'm going to do to get away from this table and ultimately be murdered in the hallway, which is what happens. They do a couple different line switches here. They say he's flat out dead. And then at the end of the movie, just to jump ahead for a minute, he's alive and well, and he's a free man 3 days later. Do you think they were just like, do you think maybe it tested bad and like, no, we got to have Shaft live at the end of this movie here?
Yeah, I think maybe they might have overestimated him at that point of his career or something. And right, somebody said somewhere that it would probably be better served to have Richard Roundtree, who's obviously the most noted actor, of course, in the movie. I think that's exactly what happened. Is somebody came aboard and said, let's let him have a quick moment at the end of the movie. We show he's alive, and that'll be that. The people that would watch Bloodfist 3 for Richard Roundtree and not Don Wilson will be happy that his character had made it at the end and is a free, healthy, somewhat healthy man.
That's fair. That's fair. However, while Richard Roundtree is dead, it's enough to set Don Wilson off from 0 to arson. He immediately gets a bucket of gasoline. I don't know where he gets the gasoline from, but he finds Blue and Steelhead in their cell, and he just starts pouring it all. He's got a torch. He's got some matches. Like do you think he's really getting ready to do it? Or he's like, is that the plan? He's like, I got all the media here. The wardens are here. I'm going to get them to come in, and I'm going to get them to confess to this murder.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I don't know if he pulled the trigger on it or not, because like you said, if anybody's going to murder you, you probably want it to be Don Wilson because he'll back out of it because he's so nice to everybody.
Indeed.
But I guess you probably want it to be him and not Rick Dean or somebody else from the movie. I don't know. That's a hard call. I don't see him doing it, to be honest. I think they could have called his bluff on it and went from there.
Okay. So do you think it was part of his plan, though? Like, the media's here and I'm going to get them to confess, or... They're just like, oh, that's a happy coincidence. Thank you.
I think it should have been part of his plan. I don't know if that comes across totally like that in the movie.
And to be fair, it's very, very spontaneous. Like, it's not the most thought out thing he could have done.
Right. It would have been an intelligent thing to do, I think. And I think writing wise, it could have been easy to maybe make that connection where he was trying to set up something like that. But, right, I think in the movie it kind of comes across as a happy accident kind of thing. So
a riot happens while Don Wilson is beating up the two guys and dousing them in gasoline. And one of the lady reporters there, she hears someone go like, "Someone got fucked up." Fucked up? What do you mean fucked up? What does that mean? It's still 1992. It's not 1947. This is pretty. It's really bad writing. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Yes, right. Yes, there it does have that moment. I'm not going to debate that one.
I want to say I'm glad they kept her to the side, because in something like a Death Warrant with a Jean-Claude Van Damme, she would have been a forced love interest.
I was just going to say that. Dude, you were one step ahead of me. I was going to say, what I liked most about it is they didn't force her into some romantic relationship with Don Wilson's character. Mm-hmm. And then you had the love scene or sex scene behind a prison skirt somewhere or something like that. I was waiting for it to happen. But in Bloodfist, we don't go that direction.
No, it's something. It seems like something they would have set up too. And then they made the better decision and they didn't go there. Don Wilson gets the confession out of the two baddies, and sure enough, the female reporter tells the warden, it's like, you're going to see this on the 6 o'clock news tonight. The very next scene is Don Wilson returning to his cell and the PA going, "It's now 11 o'clock, lights out."
I mean, that's one thing you had mentioned. There's aspects in this where the writing is not the best kind of thing, but I think with that, it's hard to predict what they left on the cutting room floor because there's so much, like you said, the film is a ghost. We don't have a lot of information on it. We don't know where it was shot. We don't know, there's not a script out there we can read or anything like that. And so you never know where or may something have gotten lost in the script to the screen kind of thing, or what was left on the cutting room floor to a film like this. Because we could say, yeah, the writing is iffy in spots, much like that, where it's like, what happened? Did he mean to do this? Or how does this not connect properly or something? But you never know what didn't make it into the cut. And the one thing I can say, and this doesn't so much say to the writing, but to the editing, because I think both have their pluses and minuses in a movie like Bloodfist 3, Forced to Fight. It's an action film. It moves along at a breakneck pace. Like you said at the beginning of the movie, we don't get some 15 or 20 minutes to, this is who Jake or whoever Don Wilson's character's name is in this one, because once you get to 3, he's a different character in 4, different character in 5, different character in 6, and different character in 7 and 8. So, the film moves along at, I would say, a breakneck pace, if you will. And I think that has something to be said for a movie like this. When you watch a Corman picture between, any time period, but especially when he went and he got into like a lot of these crazy post-apocalyptic movies, in the Bloodfist movies and all that. If they're boring, people don't watch them, and you don't make 8 of them. So something was done right when you do these movies, and I think the pacing is good. But like you had mentioned, I think you sacrifice some script and story stuff when you have such a fast-paced movie like this.
So we get an exposition scene explaining why Don Wilson's in prison, but there's no flashback. There's nothing. Do you think that's a good thing, or again, you just get us into jail? Let's just get us into the story about Don Wilson in jail.
If I was writing it, I would have had stuff where at nighttime he was sleeping in his cell or something and thinking of memories, real quick little flashbacks, nothing that would draw out into major scenes or anything like that. But give him those moments where he's thinking of what happened, kind of thing. That's what I would have done.
During his exposition, he explains that there was a bar fight, real nasty one. He's just trying to escape, but someone did die, and it somehow got pinned on him. And he says he got 10 years for manslaughter. And at first I cackled like an asshole because I just went, that seems like a lot. And then I looked it up, and the maximum for manslaughter in California is 10 years in the clink.
Well, somebody researched it then. Some writer researched that. How much time would he get if he did this? But so you figure if Don's going to do his time right here, he's probably going to see, 4, 5 maybe years here and get out, kind of thing. I don't know.
The previous movies I've seen, he's only added time to his term from all the fights he's been in, and
right.
Again, 3 dead bodies have been in his hands, and I'm gonna include Richard Roundtree on that one. Anyway, we get the scene at the end. Roundtree's been released. It's a happy day. We get the ceremonial passing of the law book, and Don Wilson is now going to he's going to be everybody's counselor. There was a scene where he's rejecting the call at first, but now he's going to be it. And again, we get a delightful score, credits roll, the movie ends. We never visit Jake again in another Bloodfist past this.
Nope, he's done. In fact, but like I said earlier there, he plays a different character than in all the Bloodfists going forward. But I believe they made 8 of them, I think.
I want to say there's 8, at least 8 on Prime right now.
I'm pretty sure that's where it ended then. I think Corman finally said, you know what, this is just not making back the budget anymore or whatever they're spending on it, and said, screw it. And that was the end of the Bloodfist stuff. I believe, though, years later, many years later, and I don't remember if this debuted on the Sci-Fi Channel or not, and Don Wilson is not in it. I don't know who it is, but I believe there is like a Bloodfist 2050 or something like that out there.
Oh, neat.
Some kind of futuristic Bloodfist. I'm pretty sure it exists. I want to say it's Bloodfist 2050. I have not seen it, but I know it exists.
Okay. Well, anyone out there listening, find us that link. Tell us what it's all about. Movie's over. So this came out in 1992, top of the year, January 3rd. Again, out of 247 movies, came in number 233. Top 5 movies for that year. Wayne's World, Home Alone 2, Sister Act, Lethal Weapon 3, and Batman Returns is the #1 movie that year.
I'll say that Bloodfist 3 Forced to Fight is better than Lethal Weapon 3. Okay. That's right, folks. I said it. And I'm not backing away from it either. It's
very controversial.
It's a better movie.
I'm not going to compare this to a movie like a Shawshank or an American Me or a Bound by Honor, but like compare it to a Prayer Before Dawn, which is actually a true story, or a Blood Sport 3, or even one of the new Kickboxers. Where do you compare this to the martial arts in prison movies?
Oh, honestly, I'd have to really think about it. I like Daniel Bernhardt a lot that took over for Van Damme and Bloodsport, but I don't think the Bloodsport prison type one is not as good as this one, in my opinion. I don't know. To start off, we're in the infancy of the Kick-Ass movie podcast, but in terms of prison martial art films, I'm hard pressed to say Forced to Fight with Don the Dragon Wilson isn't at the top. I'd have to, and I'm talking about lower budgeted stuff. And with that, you have to loop in some of the women in prisons, like Caged Fury or something like that.
Hell yeah.
I would put in that upper echelon of fun, obviously lower budgeted B movies. But, when I say B movies and, being a micro budget indie filmmaker here, low budget to me or B movies are still shot on 35 millimeter film and stuff like. There's a difference between the B movies of what Corman would do and a micro budget thing like myself would do. There's a difference of 6 figures many times over in terms of the budget. Even Bloodfist Forced to Fight, probably I would bet had a close to, $1 million type budget to it kind of thing. It's not being shot for $10,000 at the county jail kind of thing somewhere. I would put it on par with pacing and stuff like that, with it like a Caged Fury and things like that. But in terms of martial art ones, I really can't think of one better. I don't think the Bloodsport one is nearly as good. Even the fight scenes, I'm telling you, I love the fight scenes in Forced to Fight here.
I think they tried to make this movie more than a kung fu film. I think they tried to make it a drama as well. I think they tried to make a message. I believe they did try to make this movie the best that they possibly could, despite me saying like, it doesn't hold up for me 30 years later, whatever. This is not a bad movie by any means. It's not the best movie I've ever seen neither. I really like Bloodsport 3. We did a podcast on that, Kush and Kai. It goes hard. It tries to go hard, and then you get movies like A Prayer Before Dawn, which just make you go, oh, prison in Thailand is miserable.
Right. Well, you know what? To go off of that, what is it now? Probably 20 years old at least. In Hell with Jean-Claude Van Damme, where he goes into the prison movie that's in that, and that's like the Turkish hellhole prison style thing. But you've got Van Damme, and there is very little to no martial arts in that movie.
Wow.
And it's just like, it's like,
I don't know.
So do I think in terms of like production value and things, is In Hell superior to Forced to Fight? Yeah, probably in that area. Of course, it was shot, a few years after Forced to Fight. But in terms of like fun movie going and stuff, ease of watch, that kind of thing, having fun with fight scenes and chuckling at the movie sometimes in a good way as it goes along. Yeah, I believe Forced to Fight's better than those movies like In Hell, which is obviously not a fun movie.
My man, it is April 28th when this drops. What do you want to plug?
Pact of Vengeance is really my next thing, what I'm doing in my own film career, if you will, if that's truly what I have. But Pact of Vengeance, I'm coordinating. Leo Fong is in. John Mickle Thor is in. For those that seen, in late February, Matt Kurata's Samurai Cop had to drop out. I think they're trying to get Samurai Cop 3 going, which is, more of a kind of his thing. So, I couldn't fault him there. So as we speak, I'm working on filling that role. So I've talked to a bunch of different people and really running around seeing who's going to take that spot kind of thing. So, but my goal is to get back to filmmaking this summer. Is vaccines and COVID stuff, of course, are still going on. We'll just kind of see what happens there. But my plan is to shoot it in August, and hopefully by that time we'll have some direction or at least some calming down of some stuff nationwide, and we can get back to filmmaking. So that's my plan.
That's what's up, man. As for me, Kush and Kai 53, The Man Who Fell to Earth, that came out March 17th, recognizing 1 year of a lockdown. Our next episode, whenever that comes out, will be Cobra Kai Season 3. Until then, last month, you heard me talk sweet science cinema with Pro Wrestling Hall of Famer Jameel Hemphill. We spoke about the Great White Hype. Next film is going to be $1 Million Baby. Check them all out. For Len Kabazinski, I've been Kush Hayes. This has been the Kick-Ass Movie Podcast. You guys are awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
We're here to kick ass. If you with the Kung Fu, then this your podcast. No breaks, all gas. This the Kick-Ass Movie Podcast. We're here to kick ass. If you with the Kung Fu, then this your podcast. No breaks, all gas. This the Kick-Ass Movie Podcast.
From the BosNet family.
Water is usually wet, though, and